Alrighty, so just doing a rebuild on the gearbox. We're on the steering box, and we're on that reassembly point. So as you've seen how this came apart, I put it back together that way, and what I did was I put a load of power steering fluid in with it as I tightened it up. Sorry, there's a bit of glare there, give me a second. So I put a load of power steering fluid in there as I tightened it up, and I put my bearings back in, the shaft with its bearings in, and then as I screwed that center section in, it started pushing all the excess fluid out here, and that actually brought a load of little bits of debris and stuff with it, so that's a good sign. It was clearing out that. Also meant that everything was nice and lubricated. I could then dial in the play in the bearing inside there. So what I kind of feel, by going by feel, what I feel it's the right amount of resistance. And then once I got that resistance to that point, I was kind of happy. And there's no up back and forth thing. There's a little bit more resistance maybe than there should be, but then it's hard to know because hydraulic existed normally. But it feels good. I then just tap that down nice and tight, snug, so that snugs it up, because you don't want to over tighten the centerpiece because then you're putting too much pressure on it. It's just like setting any kind of other bearing. That has to be kept to the right resistance, and then you just snug it down with this. And I'll show you the seals now in a second. Alrighty guys, so I'm just putting the ball bearings back into here. So what I've done is I've just bent back these two tabs that allowed me to release these two 10mm nuts here and here. That sits over this shell basically. At the moment I have loaded in 18 here, and as I put in one I'd wind it out, so it was fully in. So now it's out to this point. I'm going to pop in the remaining ones into this shell and then sit that in place. And once we get that nice and seated, I'll be able to then put my clamp over that, and that should be all my ball bearings back in place. Alrighty, so that's that put back together. You need to make sure that you don't wind out too far, because the ball bearings will just fall into the back of it. So you basically, I put in I think 18 or 17 I think is the sweet spot, and then you put your remainders inside that shell, that clamshell, and then you sit it in, and that should then be it. You don't want to wind this too far, as I said. You can wind it fully back in though. There is a white Teflon seal right back there, big one. That's a little bit difficult to get at, to be honest. You can just about fit your hands down and work it around. You will eventually get it. It's just you have to stick with it, and obviously not damage the seal. A couple of these rubber O-rings. We have this one here. I pulled this little valve out just to give it a quick clean, and that's pretty much it. I changed also the cap. Where we go? See this one here? There's a little O-ring on that. On the inside, and that's pretty much all you can do, and clean out some of the dirt and everything. Another O-ring here, as you see. So it's essentially now it's just put back together time. There's no other difficulties. Like there's a little Teflon seal in this here, I believe, from memory. It was last week I think I did this, and yeah, I think there's a little Teflon seal in there. There's another Teflon seal anywhere. I just can't think if it was in this one or in that seal there. I done it last week, and I've just forgotten. But yeah, so after this, just basically put back together, reassembly. Nothing too majorly difficult about that, and I will do a little kind of test run of it dry afterwards. Right, so that's the box rebuilt. It takes a bit of pressure to move this and this as well. I don't know if that's normal or not after it's rebuilt and it's not filled with transmission fluid and everything like that. I have spun it. It spins fine with a bit of with the pitman arm fitted, and I'm getting 3 1/4 turns at this side, which I believe is correct. So that's all good. Now I'm going to spray it with a bit of like a cold galvanized galvanizing spray. If you're anyway sensitive, you probably don't want to look, because the likes of these little seals and stuff will get sprayed over. That doesn't bother me. That's not something that I'm concerned with. I'm more concerned with just having a nice robust finish on it. The other thing I want to have a look at, which was suggested to me, is that the ball bearings themselves show wear in another Mercedes gearbox or steering box, and that's the reason why that one can't be rebuilt. And that person then asked if that was the case for this, so I'm going to have a quick look and see. I have the original transmission box, or the steering box there to hand, so that was the one that was really damaged. So if there's any chance of wear showing on the ball bearings, it'll be on that. Alrighty, so that's it all painted up. Like I say, I paint the seals. Doesn't really bother me, bothers other people. I'm just more about practicality of it all. So that's that. Just a couple of the part numbers. That faceplate is 124 416 461 1105, and the main body is 124 450 6301. So that's probably the difference in the steering boxes, because there is a few different types from what we can tell. Equally, there's the ball bearing side of it. I'm not even going to bother measuring them. There's absolutely zero difference in them. So there's no wear on those ball bearings, and that was a really worn out box. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'll install that. The only thing, I'll install that in a while. I've got a few different jobs I'm going to do at the same time. The only thing to keep in mind with this, and I was guessing it, is the preload for this shaft here. I just kind of went for something like that. We can always adjust it later on if needs be, but I don't know how it'll fare. Alright, thanks for watching. So guys, just a quick one on the end here. Some of you were watching, I'd say, last week, and I was looking for the diesel leak, oil leak, whatever you want to call it, from the pump, and I was dealing with that boosting issue in relation possibly to it. I cleaned it all off and drove it for a week, drove it about 400 miles and had a look, and there is a build up of it's only very slightly damp, but it is there at that Alda lever that, you know, compensates for the boost, fueling for the boost. Yeah, at that point you can see there is a build up, very, very slight weeping of fuel. It's so minor after 400 miles. I don't know if I'll even bother solving it, but you can definitely see it. When you look at those two washers, they're back kind of damp again, but not noticeable from a distance. Only when you actually look at those two washers. It will be something I have to solve at some point, but at the moment I'm going to leave it. The boost problem, the lower boost I was getting, I think it's the actuator. I think the actuator on the turbo is no good, or maybe the spring is wearing out, or the diaphragm is imagine more likely the spring rate. It's gotten loose, so it's opening too early. As soon as I disconnect that, I get 1.5, 1.6 bar of boost, and as soon as I plug it back in, I can barely make a bar. So that actuator is an issue. So I'm going to have to find some kind of aftermarket actuator, or maybe just the original Holset HX35 actuator will be sufficient. The one that's on at the moment is from a TD5. I adapted it to work on that, because the actuator that was delivered with that turbo was damaged. So possibly that's my issue. Anyway, that's all. This should look good when it's all fitted, I think. That's it all dried up. Alright guys, thanks for watching.